What's up YouTube? DJ Capidemics here showing you guys the big Soulja Boy deck. Tell them aka them young Dracos, aka the True Kings. So I'm pretty sure most of you guys are familiar with this archetype. I'm not actually sure if it's two similar archetypes that combine into one deck or what, but I'm just going to call it one archetype because you play all the cards together. I guess the best way to kind of summarize how the deck plays is it's kind of like a cross between Monarchs meets Yang Zing. I say Yang Zing because everything in here for the most part is worm. The True Dracos, the True Kings, like they're all worms, and the deck feels like it has an exceptionally good grind game. It feels like the longer the game goes on, the stronger this deck goes because it really doesn't run out of resources that well because a lot of the monsters float, and much like Yang Zings, you are pretty much incentivized to blow up your own monsters. A lot of them float, a lot of them can, a lot of the cards in this deck ask you to blow up your own monsters, and your monsters will get other monsters, and then a lot of times you get bonus effects like being able to cut all the monsters on your opponent's side of the field in half or having a Rhoda. And it does feel like Monarchs in the sense that a lot of these cards like to be tribute summoned. This deck does have a tribute summon mechanic, and like Monarchs, it's not necessarily all revolving around tribute summoning monsters. There are some spells and traps in this deck that can actually be tribute summoned, and when they are, you actually get to blow things up on your opponent's side of the field. Now, on both of these duels, you guys are going to see he's playing against Artifact, Eidolon, Wind Witches, which is a very strong deck in the OCG, and luckily for him, because he opens second in both games, he does have Max C, and his opponent's going to make Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of like a hard counter to this deck because you guys will notice all the monsters are like big as fuck. Now, the Rhoda in this deck, Dragonic Diagram, is super good. It basically allows you to blow up a monster in your hand or on your side of the field, and then you get to get whatever like True King or True Draco that you want. So it's really, really good because when your monsters are blown up, obviously they will get you other monsters, very similar to Yang Zing. Now, this card right here is another card that works on the mechanic of blowing monsters up on your side of the field. It cuts your opponent's monsters in half. Everything on the field, obviously non-targeting. And what's cool about these guys all being worm is now Konami has to give us like competent kind of worm support. You see this card right here, Eternal Wormterfall. It's a difficult word to pronounce. It basically gives you any worm type monster from your deck to your hand. I know a lot of Yang Zing players are out there are like, fucking finally, you're telling me after all this time we get ourselves a really good Rhoda? Like, that's cool. Now you see he has Crystal Wing pretty much cut in half, but he can't attack directly into Crystal Wing, otherwise it'll get it'll get that stupid ass like super boost. Now the deck does have its own XC, which is, this shit is ridiculous. It's ranked 9 because a lot of like the True Kings are what's it called, like, or the True Rulers, they're like rank 9 or whatever, or they're level 9 or whatever, and you're probably not going to see this card summoned outside of this deck. But what this card does is absolutely ridiculous. Basically, you call an attribute, and after you call that attribute, all your opponent's monsters on their side of the field become that attribute. They cannot activate their monster effects, and they cannot attack as well. So it's like a skill drain plus like a Wabaku for the turn as well. Well, threatening roar. Let's call it a threatening roar. Even when this is crazy, right? Even when his XC monster dies, like, he doesn't miss a beat. Now, I probably wouldn't have activated the effect of the XC because I know that it was going to get negated by Crystal Wing, but whatever, he decided to. Even when he throws freaking Ellison at him and he banishes all his monsters, like, it just doesn't matter. Like, this guy is just able to recover because when you have a constant Rhoda, which is the field spell, that lets you activate your monster effects at the same time, like, it's dumb. Now let me pause for a second to show you guys some troll level shit. So he actually plays Ryu Okami. I think the whole reason he runs this is because it's a worm, and pretty much like that's the entire reason that he's running this card. It's a high level worm, so it obviously kind of fits in the deck. In defense mode, it isn't that strong because it only has 1200 defense, but anytime your opponent special summons a monster, you get to send one of their cards from the extra deck to the graveyard. And come on now, 2017, like, what isn't built around special summoning? Now this guy is incredible. This is a True Draco. This guy is 3000 attack, 3000 defense. It's level 9. It is kind of like potentially a Towers. It does take 3 tributes, but you can tribute continuous spell and trap cards instead of monsters. But with the cards that you actually tribute, whether they be monster, spell, or trap, you then become immune to those things. And you guys are going to see the real power of this card after, I think, the next turn. During this next turn, he's going to go Alistar, I believe, and I think he's going to actually, he's going to go into Raideen. He's going to put the Alistar back in his hand, and I believe he's going to attack over this guy right here. Yeah, he's going to oh no, okay, I guess that's gonna happen on his turn. Okay, Cap doesn't even know what happens in the duel. Terrible commentary confirmed. He attacks, and obviously he uses Alistar to gain to gain 200 attack, and he summons Crystal Wing Single Dragon. Now this card, in addition to being potentially a towers, when this guy dies, you get to special summon a monster from your extra deck as long as it's not light or dark, which generally means you're gonna go for Crystal Wing Single Dragon, because we all know how fucking ridiculous that card is. So even when he had Radine and he was able to run it over, well, he ran into the Radine and used Alistar. Alistar was used to get 1,000 attack. Like, it just doesn't matter because he's able to get Crystal Wing. Crystal Wing's able to gain 2,200 attack from Radine, or just potentially negate Radine, which it did when Radine tries to book a moon. Let's show game 2 of the Soulja Boy deck. And this is a play, like, honestly, I think his hand... No. Okay, this must no. And I thought in both games for some reason that he went second. He's going first in this game. This is actually a really good hand for what's it called, for Win-Witch Idolin Artifact. But the problem with Win-Witch Idolin Artifact is they don't play 2 Crystal Wings, so like you can only make 1 Crystal Wing generally, unless you are going to run 2 copies. I'd consider running 2 copies because Crystal Wing is just that strong of a card. Now you do run other rank 9s. Like, the reason that he summoned this Phantom Fortress thingy is basically to just get a card out of its opponent's hand. It's like a watered down Trishula, essentially. Now, he is under Max C. I don't know how I feel about this play. You guys let me know. He's giving this guy 1 billion cards, but then he does end up with Crystal Wing Single Dragon, Clear Wing, and 2 Radines. So, like, you guys let me know. Do you think that this play was worth it, essentially, to give the True King player, oh God, I don't know, it was like 10 cards in his hand to have a field that is super stunning? I think it would have been better. Like, if he would have been able to make 2 Crystal Wings, I would have said that it's worth it, because he would have had 2 negates plus 2 Book of Moons, and like that would have been extremely difficult. Basically, he would have only needed to live 1 turn at that point to like pretty much surmount the True King guy. Now, another thing that I like about this deck is the recovery is extremely good. Obviously, the recovery is going to be pretty good in any deck that kind of has monsters that float, but there is a continuous spell card in here. It's very similar to Prime from, it's pretty similar to the Prime Monarch in a sense that it lets you take 3 of your True Kings and put them, or True Dracos as well, put them back into your deck and draw a card, because you guys are probably thinking, okay, Cap, well, if you're always blowing up your own cards, then shouldn't you run out of monsters like fairly soon? And no, this is the, like, they have some recovery cards. This is it right here during your main phase. Oh my goodness, I can't find it. Look, he's gonna play it, just take my word. I think he activated the one that cuts monster attacks in half. Yeah, he did. Now he activates the Rhoda. Here it is. It's in his hand. It's It's Disciples. Target up to 2 True Dracos. Target up to 3, not 2. Target up to 3 True Dracos and True Kings in your graveyard. Shuffle them into the deck and then draw 1 card. During your main phase, this card obviously has another effect. Well, it lets you tribute summon immediately after you activate the effect. It's optional though. It would be dumb if it was like mandatory. And then when this card is tribute summoned, you get to blow up a Speller Trap on your opponent's side of the field. So it basically has a built-in MST as well. It's a lot to explain in this archetype, because honestly there's a fucking lot going on in this archetype. Now, even with Merkaba, even with Crystal Wing, even with Double Radine, you see that the Win-Witch Idolin Artifact player is just generally like he's slowly running out of resources, and as long as this guy has Disciples, he's always like he's gonna be drawing 2 cards per turn every single turn. Like, he's never gonna run out of resources, and this guy can never do a lot of damage because he has this card Apocalypse, which basically cuts all his monsters' attacks down. Now, a lot of these guys have like 3,000 defense and 3,300. Like, these monsters are big as fuck. So if your monsters are not at full power, like, you're not even going to be able to run these guys over, let alone do any actual damage to the player who's playing True Kings and True Dracos. So just wanted to show you guys some duels with this stat, because some people have been like, Cat, why aren't you talking about these guys? They are legit. I don't think I will go so far as to say like they're going to be the new Dragon Rulers. People have been saying that. I'm like, hold on now. Dragon Rulers were basically unrivaled except for fucking Spellbook of Judgment spellbooks, you know what I mean? Like, let's not put them on that type of level yet. But I think that they'll be, when they get all their cards, I think they'll be a very viable deck, unless people start playing like, you know, Ophion or some shit, because Ophion would just be like GG easy, you can't even play Yu-Gi-Oh. So you guys let me know what you think. If you guys want to see any deck profiles of True Kings / True Dracos, leave that in the comment section. It does take, like, I would say that this deck does have a little bit of a higher learning curve because you kind of need to know how to get through the early game. Like in the first couple of turns, this deck isn't super explosive, but as long as you survive those couple of turns, I do feel like this deck has a very strong grind game. I can even see you playing Skill Drain in here, to be honest, because you can kind of just play this as vanilla beatdown. I mean, you do have enough to, like, the only thing I would say that this deck could possibly lose to is like monster effects. You know what I mean? Like, if especially non-targeting removal things like Trishula or Ignister, Skill Drain could even work well in this deck. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already.